Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Science into Another World News. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas coming up and an awesome New Year's. It's going to be 2023 soon. My, how time flies. It seemed like just the other day we had that UAP Congress hearing, which was absolute disappointment. I have to say disappointment. I think some people think it was something major, and I think a lot of people think, oh, we're gonna get disclosure soon. That's not gonna happen. That's not happening. It didn't happen in 2022 with that hearing. It didn't happen with that report that came out. We still haven't even seen the other report that was supposed to come out in October 31st on Halloween. It's going into December, and there's been no word on that report. I know reporters at the White House have been asking about the report because John Greenwald had posted it on his website, so I suggest you go check it out. Yeah, but nothing. There ain't gonna be no disclosure soon. Whatever report comes out is gonna be an absolute joke. Joke. Although I did write to my Congress person, what day was it? A couple of days ago. I was gonna handwrite a letter and mail it, which I did that before. I'm like, I'm just gonna email it. So I wrote to Val Demings because she's in my area because I live in Orlando, and I just asked for. It was toned down. I didn't put anything about alien abductions or whatever in there. I didn't want to lead with that and overwhelm her. So I just talk about the UAP hearings, the UAP report. We need more transparency. We need more honesty. We need more openness. That these sightings didn't just start in 2004 with the Nimitz Tic Tac encounter, as media and these intelligence communities would like you to believe. These sightings and encounters have been happening for decades, starting with the 1945 Trinity case. I say the 1947 Roswell case because that was officially when something went on record of the military admitting that they had captured a flying saucer. But if you really want to go back, I guess you would go back to 1941 with the Cape Girardeau case, because that was the first time the military got their hands on an actual flying saucer. So you have 1941 with the Cape Girardeau case, 1945 with the Trinity case that happened in New Mexico, and then 1947, and then so on and so on. Yeah, but 2023 is not going to be about anything. We're not going to get disclosure. That UAP report that's going to come out is going to be an absolute joke, disappointment. So I don't have my hopes in it. It is what it is. So, oh well, when that comes out, it comes out. When it doesn't, it doesn't. So it is what it is. So this is going to be another episode of Sasquatch Story Time, number 3. I think I'm going to read to you guys some stories from 2000s. So I'm going to start with 2005. So this story goes, seeing Bigfoot from the windowsill. A report to the BFRO website said a man living in Duval, Washington on June 23rd, 2005 saw a Bigfoot from his windowsill, said the witness. I was sitting on my windowsill at 11 at night. I lived next to a large wetland swamp area. My backyard was a large hill in front of the wetland. I was sitting on my windowsill and saw a large figure come out of the wetland, walk down the hill, and then re-enter the wetland at the bottom of the hill. The figure was probably 7 feet tall. I doubt it was 8 or 9, dark in color and large, very large in build. Also, on November 17, 2005, a backpacker from Vancouver, Washington, took a series of 4 photos on Silver Star Mountain in Gifford Pinchot National Forest. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. He says that he doesn't know what the figure was, but he does not believe it was another hiker or backpacker. The photos are inclusive, but they are potentially relevant. The figure you see could be a Bigfoot. See the color section to view these photos. It was in 2005 that an astonishing photograph of a Bigfoot was taken by a trail camera at Moyer Springs in northern Idaho. Little is known about the photo except that it was sold to the National Enquirer. The photograph shows the head and upper body of a Bigfoot in the snow. He is near a fallen log with snow on it, and his dark, hairy body was blobs of snow on it as well. Most notable about the photo is the grimace that the animal is making, as if in pain, and his teeth can be seen. The photo seems to be a genuine photo of Bigfoot, and no one has claimed to have hoaxed it. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a picture photo. And this photo was taken by an automatic camera in Moyer Springs, Idaho in April 2005. So you can see that. It's kind of a glare. And that's the Bigfoot. Taken in 2005. Okay, and this is another story from 2005. Oh, my picture. My gray alien. He's my new companion when I do story time or when I do any of my YouTube channels. 2005, the DuPont monster strikes in Illinois. An October 10th, 2005 article in the Chicago Tribune chronicled the recent Bigfoot sightings around Seneca, Illinois, a town on the Illinois River in an area of thick brush and wilderness, but not very far from Chicago. The area is near a DuPont chemical plant with a large wilderness, said the article. For better or worse, Seneca has become a veritable Sasquatch central following a flurry of investigations. Next page. Conducted by a member of the California-based Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, which bills itself as the only scientific research organization exploring the Bigfoot Sasquatch mystery. My mind's open to anything. After all, they just found another planet, so who knows? Anything's possible. Lifelong Seneca resident Jim Meyer, 61, joked, the rumors also create questions from how and why Bigfoot stories can begin in a place such as Seneca, about 70 miles southwest of Chicago, to the reasons behind our powerful fascination with tales of things that go bump in the night. Bigfoot is one of those things that people like believing in, said Dr. Christopher Bader, an assistant professor of sociology at Baylor University in Texas. Because how boring would the world be if we thought we had to discover everything? Oh no, let me reread that again. Because how boring would the world be if we thought we had discovered everything? ? Since Stan Courtney of the BFRO first visited Seneca, he has deemed reports of 4 separate Bigfoot encounters near town credible enough to post on the group's website. 2 of the alleged encounters happened in early June, and the others date back to 1979 and 1983. Courtney first posted 2 Bigfoots on the group's website July 9th, prompting the Daily Times, a newspaper near Ottawa, to publish a story about the rumors. After that story ran, Courtney said he received information about other Bigfoot encounters. He posted 2 more reports in late August. All 4 of the supposed sightings were within a mile of each other in a densely wooded area just south of Illinois River along Seneca's narrow and twisting DuPont Road. 3 occurred in Grundy County, while the 4th was in LaSalle County. One account involved 2 Bigfoot creatures. We heard some commotion over in the woods, and we were looking down into the trees. At first I didn't know what to think. A man identified as only as Tom is quoted as saying on www.bfro.net, the official website of the Bigfoot Field Researchers. If anything, it could be a man in a suit. Then I saw the second one in the clearing as plain as day. I guess I don't know how to explain it, but I just knew it wasn't a man at that time. Tom believes that the creature he saw in June near Seneca, allegedly covered in hair, standing more than 8 feet tall and reeking of a pungent odor to be Bigfoot's. Too many longtime Seneca residents, such stories are actually nothing new. Tales of a towering, hairy creature stalking the woods along DuPont Road date back for decades, they say. And so there has to be something to these stories. There's too many stories like this of Bigfoot sightings, and a lot of people say they all have that pungent odor. Because there's stories in here that begin since like the 1800s. 1800s. So there's one in here from 1818, report of a wild man of the woods. And then 1839, article about Bigfoot in Wisconsin. So there's definitely something to these stories, in my opinion. And if you speak to a lot of Native Americans, because they handed down stories verbally, um, and you could talk going to I mean, I've never been onto a Native American reservation, but I followed stories like on YouTube, and I follow David Paulides, who has been onto like the Hopi reservations, and he's made a lot of Native American friends. And there's something to those stories he said. I mean, you listen to Native Americans tell these stories. To me, there's some truth to their stories, because Native Americans has always said that Bigfoot is they're not an animal. They're definitely not an animal. There's something smart. There's something. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? They're intelligent. They're like a different. They're not humans, so to speak, but they're kind of, but they're just maybe they're like a different evolutionary species of human that evolved differently, but they're highly intelligent. But they're definitely not animal. You're not gonna put. I don't believe you should put them in the category with an animal. But I know there are some people who think they're in the category with the gorilla or ape. I'm sorry, I just don't believe that these creatures, these beings, have managed to elude us for seem to be centuries, started from 1800, and the only one that I could think that has been actually caught on film was the Patterson Gimlin film. Now, in the book that I have, it does talk about some Sasquatch being caught, but I think at the time they weren't as fearful. I know. I think at the time they used to deal with a lot of Native Americans, because a lot of Native Americans traded with them, so they probably get that sense of being fearful from humans until like European settlers came over, and then things changed where they wanted to hunt them. And even to this day, you see those shows on TV, Bigfoot hunters and people who just want to go out and just kill these amazing smart creatures. It's just awful when you think about it. So you wonder why they remain hidden from us now, as it was in the past, because they seem to be more open to contact with people, at least Native Americans in the past. If you talk to Native Americans, they have stories, again, like I said, of trading with Sasquatch. And now I don't think all of them traded with every Bigfoot, because they said there was some that they would stay away from, because some of the Sasquatch would come in and try to take their women, to take them back with them. I guess to make them as their, I don't want to say wife, I'll say more like companion, to mate with them or whatever. So there are stories of Sasquatch kidnapping Native American women and taking them back, but it wasn't like that for all the tribes. But like I say, if you go listen to some Native American stories, they can explain it better than I ever can. Like, because I've never seen a Sasquatch. I've never seen a UFO. I live in Orlando, Florida, in the densely populated city. I highly doubt that I'm going to see anything here. I would need to go out like to a national forest or some remote wilderness area. But then again, there are those who believe that Sasquatch comes from another dimension, that they can enter our dimension at their own will or whatever, or realm, so to speak. I think that's the right word for it. That they have the power to just open like a doorway from their dimension and come into ours. Maybe that's why they haven't been discovered. They can just go back and forth whenever they want to. Because after all, would you want to be trapped on our planet the way we are to each other? Can you imagine if the military gets their hands on one of these beings, these intelligent creatures, which they may have for all we know, but it's definitely possible that these beings can go in and out from their dimension to ours. I mean, maybe that's how they stay hidden. I mean, because we've never been able to like truly see them operate or truly discover them in the wild. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Would I love to see a Bigfoot? Of course. Will I ever get out to a national park? Maybe. And then there's no guarantee I'm going to see one. I haven't even seen a UFO, so I don't know. I might have a better chance of seeing a UFO than a Sasquatch, but so far I haven't. So it is what it is. So yeah. Those was my Sasquatch. I don't know. You know what? I'll read one more Sasquatch story for you guys. Let's see. This one is going to be from 2008. Woman sees Bigfoot near Little Colorado River. A report to BFRO says that on July the 12th, 2008, a woman from Phoenix whose family liked to vacation in the Mogollon Rim had a Bigfoot encounter on a rainy afternoon near Christopher Creek. They were on a side road off Forest Road 300, the main rim road, and it had been raining off and on all afternoon. So the family was reading or napping in their camper van when the woman heard a large animal in the forest outside the trailer and grabbed her camera. Not 5 minutes later, I had put my camera down and resumed reading a branch about. Wait, hold on. Let me repeat this. Not 5 minutes later, I had put my camera down and resumed reading. A branch about 4 feet long and 3 to 4 inches round came shooting out of the trees directly at the van like a javelin. It hit the side mirror dead on center, pushing it in towards the van. It is hard to even move this mirror by hand. The force it took to force it inwards towards the van had to be tremendous. The force was such that it shattered the side mirror in many pieces. There's still a dent on the back of the metal portion of the mirror from the impact. They did not see anything more, but that night she could hear a large animal sniffing at the slider window of the van where she was sleeping. The sniffing and huffing noises went on for about 5 minutes and suddenly stopped. She did not hear the sound of the animal moving away from the van. In the morning they found that their kitchen had been raided and some food taken, but not by some animal crashing around and tearing bags and knocking things over. The crackers had been removed from their plastic pouches, and sausages had been taken out of tinfoil without tearing it. They returned to the same spot a week later, and loud screaming was heard in the afternoon by them and some target shooters. The Mogollon Monster doesn't like hunters or target shooters. The MogollonMonster.com site, now defunct, records a sighting near Springville, Arizona, by a woman named Donna who reported her encounter on December 25th, 2008. We spotted it on the Bigelow homestead. It was walking down the tree line along the Little Colorado River on the side of the creek. It was huge, about 8 feet tall. It didn't seem too worried about us either. We were on the road a good 100 yards from the creature, and we were in our truck. We had just dropped down off the plane on South Fork Access. We wanted to look at an old abandoned house. Then we spotted it. It was large, looked black. There was no clothing, so it was not a man. We watched it until it moved back in the tree line. A good 4 minutes, but we had no cameras with us. It was about daybreak. And there you have it. 2 Bigfoot sightings from 2008. Incredible. So, yeah. There's definitely something to these stories. I don't care what people say. These aren't just animals. They're highly intelligent creatures that have managed to elude us for decades. I won't say centuries, possibly centuries. And I guess they show themselves when they want to show themselves. So, yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about that I was thinking about was UFO crashes. And I've talked about this before on my website. UFO crashes. So I was just thinking about, and I had a little map too that I've made. So you had the 1941 Cape Girardeau crash in Missouri. And then in 1945, you had the Trinity crash that's in Jacques Vallée's book and Paula's book that they talked about that happened in New Mexico. Then in 1947, you had the Roswell crash. Then in 1948, you had the the Aztec crash that again happened in New Mexico. And then in 1953, you had the Kingman, Arizona crash. Right there. And then, and I'm pretty sure there's more crashes out there, but these are ones that are pretty much famous. And then in 1965, you had the Kecksburg UFO crash that happened in December. What's weird is all these crashes started from 1941, and then it just seemed like it seems like these ships were just coming down like rain or whatever. Um, I think really the major official crash that happened that was really documented and made news headlines was, I guess, the 1965 Kecksburg one. But my thing is, what was bringing these crabs down? Was it radar? I mean, these beings had to have countered something that they hadn't encountered on another plane. Obviously, they weren't prepared. I mean, because their ships were being brought down. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was radar. I mean, because they were just coming down and then it just stopped. There hasn't been any more crashes. Nobody's documented any recent crashes. When was the last time we had a really good UFO crash? It hasn't been. It hasn't been. It's been like years since we had like a really good UFO crash. My cat is over there making all that noise on that cat tower. So what happened to bring down all these crabs? I mean, was it our radar? But I mean, because the ones that happened, and three of these happened in New Mexico. The Trinity crash 1945, the Roswell 1947, the Aztec 1948. Then it stopped for a couple of years because those were almost back to back. Then you have the Kingman crash of 1953. And then, don't let us not forget the Cape Girardeau crash again. So 1941 Cape Girardeau, Mississippi. 1945, the Trinity crash in New Mexico, down by Alamogordo. That's when they started testing the Manhattan Project, the atomic bomb. Then you have the Roswell crash of 1947, and then the Aztec crash of 1948. And then it goes on to the Kingman crash of 1953, and then you had the Kecksburg crash of 1965. I don't know, the Kecksburg crash, I don't know if that had anything to do with radar. Maybe just malfunctioning ship. I'm pretty sure these ships do malfunction. I mean, they're traveling from whatever, whether it be in our universe or coming in from some dimension. They gotta have issues with their ships. But I don't know, the ones that happened like in the 40s, it had to have something to do with our radar, maybe, that we were developing. Maybe these beings were just caught off guard. They came here to study what was going on with like the atomic bomb team being tested, and humans have learned to split the atom, and they were just curious and they weren't prepared, and I don't know, something definitely brought these ships down. So I don't know, because I would find it hard, but there has to be other species out there that have gotten to a state that we were. Like, I can't believe we were the only species out there that maybe to develop radar. I mean, if you think about how many planets out there, how many solar systems or whatever, there has to be like trillions of possibly other species out there that have been on the same development path that we have. Maybe not all of them. So I would think that some of these other ships or beings that are come here have had to encounter radar on other alien planets. Maybe not. I don't know. But something definitely brought those crabs down. Then whatever it was, they seem to have got their shit together, because we haven't had any UFO crashes recently. Not one major good UFO crash recently. I do wonder what would happen if we had a Roswell up today. I mean, or on the Cape Girardeau up today. It would really be hard, I think, for the government to go in and try to silence people and say it have, because there's cameras everywhere. You have your cameras on your phone. People have their cameras on their houses. Those Ring doorbells, those Nest doorbells. You have the CCTV cameras. You have those red light cameras. So there's pretty much cameras that capture so much. I think it would be really hard for the military government to come in and try to tell people, oh, this didn't happen, you didn't see what you think you saw, there was no UFO crash, it was just a down military test flight. I don't know if people would go for that today like they did back then. People just, when the Army Air Force retracted the story of the Roswell case, people just let it die. It wasn't until the late Stanton Friedman got arrested. So he was such a nice man. I met him at the UFO International Congress in Arizona a couple of years ago. Till he ended up meeting Jesse Marcel, who was down in New Orleans at the time. Love New Orleans. If you've never been, you should go. I'm originally from Louisiana, but I've been to New Orleans such many times because they have such awesome food. Yeah, but he ended up finding Jesse Marcel in New Orleans, and he had an interview, and that's when he told him that the Roswell crash did happen, that he was told to lie and it wasn't a weather balloon, which I believe him. And then the army, because the story got out by mistake. I guess someone thought they were supposed to release it and say they found a UFO. They captured a flying saucer, and they realized they had made a terrible mistake, and then that's when they had to retract their story. But yeah, so you have to think, oh my God. And then I think about if the military has all these ships, because so let's just say Cape Girardeau, that's one. The Trinity, that's 2. Roswell, that's 4. Aztec, that's 5. Kingman, that's 6. And then you had Kecksburg, that's, that's 6. What, 1, 2, 3. Let me count, hold on. That's 6, that's 6. And then there's probably ones we don't know about, if there's whether any more crashed. But you had the ones down in South America too. Supposedly there was a couple that crashed down in South America, and then our military came in and recovered those. So, but if you want to understand more about those crashes, you need to read Richard Dolan's book UFOs and the National Security State, which is a really, really good book. I highly recommend it. He's also coming out with another book dealing with USOs, underwater submerged objects, or unidentified submerged objects, however you want to call it. Yeah, but let's go back to the military having 6 crafts in their possession, starting from the 40s. Can you imagine the technology they have? What they've managed to find or possibly reverse engineer off these crafts? Because you remember when Bob Lazar worked in Area 51 during the late 80s. I think he said he worked there from 88 to 89, but he wasn't on the base all the time. He said they had 9 flying saucers there. One looked like a sombrero, one looked like a Jello, one looked like a typical flying saucer. And then he said there was one that looked like it had some damage to it. So I would have to believe that some of the crafts he saw at S4 were some of the crafts from these crashes. And then, but the bodies, did all the bodies go to Wright-Patterson? Because definitely the ones from Roswell supposedly went to Wright-Patterson, because that was a place then. So maybe a lot of these other bodies, Cape Girardeau, which happened in the 40s, could have went to Wright-Patterson. And then you have the Aztec one, and then you have the Kingman, which, maybe all these bodies did end up at Wright-Patterson. Can you imagine seeing that you walking into some underground secret base bunker, and you're in the military and you're being initiated into this program? Because people die, so somebody has to take over and keep the program going. And you're being initiated to this program, and they lead you to this underground secret bunker. And you see these beings floating in this tank of solution preserved. I don't even know what that would feel like. I don't know. It has to be amazing. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. I just try to picture it in my head. But I'm never going to be able to understand it, because I've never seen anything. I haven't seen a UFO. I've never had an abduction experience. So it is what it is. But still, to be part of those programs, has to be awesome. To have your hands on an alien spacecraft, their technology, something from like millions of light years away, or coming through some alternate universe or whatever. I happen to think that some of these crafts are right here from our own universe, so they just have technology similar to maybe what they portray in Star Trek. Maybe they have like some kind of warp technology. I don't know. I know those are just my thoughts. This is my rambling. So yeah, that's it. My thoughts on crash retrievals, and I don't know. I think a lot of these crafts that people see today are probably reversed alien crafts that are being flown by the military. Not all of them, but I definitely think some of them are. I don't know. Because you would think the Air Force just unveiled one of their crafts. Oh my God, it's on John Greenwald's website. It's the BR. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. So it's so it's the B-21 Raider. Let me see if there's images of it. It says the Pentagon reveals secretive B-21 bomber in California. People say Raider, some say bomber. Oh, come on, get this off of here. I want to read this. So, Defense Secretary Lord Austin, speaking in front of the hangar, said that the plane is proof of the Defense Department's long-term commitment to building an advanced capability that will fortify America's ability to deter aggression today and into the future. The stealthy plane, he said, has 50 years of advances in low observable technology built in, making it difficult for even the most sophisticated air defense system to detect a B-21 in the sky. So I'm trying to figure out if this thing is retired, because usually the Air Force doesn't reveal anything to the public unless it's been retired, and by that time that technology is like 20 years old in the past. So can you imagine what they have now? They've had this technology that came out like 20 years ago, and they're revealing it now. Can you imagine what they would have now? Let's see. Let me show it to you on my computer. I mean, it's really cool to look at. Very cool. Can you imagine flying something like that? Oh, I would love to be in something like that. That's awesome, dude. Awesome.
Time and place of our choosing to field long-range sensors and weapons.
You do wonder though, is this craft that they've just revealed off has been reverse engineered from alien technology, and it's produced by Northrop and Grumman. So I don't know. It's very cool. It's very cool. But yeah, those are my thoughts. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys had any UFO sightings lately, any alien abduction encounters lately, because you know I'm all fascinated by that stuff. Any Bigfoot sightings, any glowing orb sightings, energy sightings that people have often said they've seen, like on the Skinwalker Ranch. So yeah, I would love to hear your stories. I hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas if I'm not back on before Christmas, and I hope you have an awesome, fantastic new year, and let's see where we go with 2023. Although I doubt if there's going to be any disclosure. I know that's what people are hoping for, but I doubt that's going to happen. But anyway, who knows? Well, wishing you guys a happy and awesome new year. Bye for now.